It's never a waste of time to fight for true democracy.
Tonight, Missouri lawmakers are working to make changes to the initiative petition process, but those opposed to any reform are also working to protect that constitutional right. Francis Watson joins us now with more on what they're doing. Francis.
Hey, Rob, the initiative petition process starts here on the Secretary of State's website. Now, anyone can file, and tonight, Respect Mo voters have launched their campaign. They say they're working to protect the current simple statewide majority vote standard for passing ballot measures.
This is an attempt to restore power to the people.
Respect Mo voters and volunteer Gene Davison says the Show Me State has laws in place to engage voters.
Missouri for a century has had the right of citizens to petition the government, and so that when politicians are not responsive to the will of the people can take the cause straight to the ballot themselves.
But he believes that constitutional right is being challenged.
The politicians don't want us to have that right, and they are introducing a similarly worded ballot that would destroy any attempt to ever pass another initiative petition in Missouri.
Lawmakers are in Jefferson City this week for a special session on redistricting and initiative petition reform. This week, the House approved a plan to require citizen-initiated petitions to receive a majority vote in each of the state's 8 congressional districts to pass.
I come from a very conservative portion of the state. We're governed extremely well, and I'd like to see that happen across the rest of the state.
Branson State Representative Brian Seitz says the legislature is working to protect voters.
It's important that the people's voices be heard, and I think we're doing that in both the initiative petition reform and in the redistricting.
Gene says Respect Mo voters is also working to protect voters. Wednesday, the organization launched a campaign in cities all across the state to collect the signatures needed to get an initiative petition of its own on next year's ballot.
It will ensure that ballot language is clear and accurate. It will be concise, and it will prohibit politicians from putting misleading items on the ballot so that they can confuse voters. We want voters to know what they're actually voting for. The other thing it will do is stop politicians from overturning things that are passed by the will of the people.
Now, as you can see, there are dozens of petitions, initiative petitions rather, that have been approved for circulation. Respect Mo voters hopes to get its petition on the ballot for next fall. Rob?
Francis, thanks.